Hey everybody, we are the Geeks and Degenerates, and today we're talking about DreamWorks Animation. Well, there's a whole lineup about DreamWorks Animation. With me is my co-host Forever Jom, and Nina's back. Hello, Nina.
Hi. Hi.
Hello. And today you've seen the thumbnail and title, so we're doing Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Before diving into the plot, what were your expectations for this movie? I hear a doggy too.
Yeah, sorry, that was Demi. I guess I can start. Or no, Jum, should start until my dog stops barking. Keep going,
Okay.
Jum.
All right. Then my dog starts barking. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, we did a trailer reaction to this, didn't we?
Yeah.
We looked and I was very surprised because it was the same animators and same studio that did Spider-Verse.
I'm not surprised. I called it.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, okay, I
Yeah.
can rock with this. DreamWorks is finally branching out and it's not the same formula. Shrek isn't done. They didn't do that same 3D studio
Yeah.
animation studio for every fucking movie now. So I was like, oh, that's great. They're trying out other studios, and no, but I wasn't really excited for it. I was like, oh, cool, they got a new animation studio. I'll gladly see. But I wasn't so hyped on it because the whole Shrek lore kind of started depleting a bit.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't going as great. It wasn't, I don't know. It was just starting to get off. It's just memes now. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't as excited, but I am kind of glad that I started watching it. I was like, I had to watch it for this review, of course. Yes, we can transition.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I was waiting for Enzo or a clear Nina, what about you? No, but it's okay. And I think for me, I had no idea this movie was coming out, frankly. But I had heard a lot of hype around it amongst the internet and even amongst my own
TikTok.
friends. Yeah, TikTok especially. I was like, huh, interesting. And for me, right, I've curated my algorithm to a certain extent that I can tell what based on the creators that I follow, whether the movie that they're actually talking about is something I find myself worth watching. I'll find myself watching. And so I was like, you know what? Multiple people that I find I talked about it and really enjoyed it. And I said, okay, cool. Another win for animation. Right? So, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. I had nothing to think about until it came out and the hype started coming around. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. So I was excited. I was like, how are they gonna? I don't even remember. I forgot that there was even a first movie, even though I watched it. I remember watching it, but I had to be jogged of my memory. We watched this, Nina. I was like, really? It was so forgettable because it was so forgettable that I genuinely was like, I must have blanked out watching it because I remember nothing.
Yeah, the one
Other
with
than Humpty Dumpty.
Zach.
what was his name again? Yeah, Zach.
Galfiankis. Galfunkis. Gal something. I'm so sorry.
Ah, yes. I like butchering names too, Nina.
I know. At least I only do it every so often. Not every name. I only maybe once in a full moon, blue moon. Fuck.
Full moon is every week.
Yeah,
but okay.
every. Pause. Did you say every week?
Yeah, a full moon would come out every week, or was it
Once a month?
once a month? No, on the calendar. Hold on.
This is not astrology class.
Hold on. No, keep going. I gotta fact check this.
Anyway, I
Go, Enzo.
I was somewhat excited because, as Nina said, I totally forgot about the first one. I was like, I can't remember jack shit about the first one. All I know is that Zach Galifianakis was in it, Salma Hayek was in it, and that's about it. And I was like, I'm not the biggest fan of the standalone Shrek movie, so let's see what happens. And then I just heard all the hype, and Nina was like, we have to do a review on this. I was like, all right, if Nina says we have to, then I guess we have to, because I trust her opinion on movies. So I checked it out, and I was like, wow.
As you shouldn't. Joke.
above and beyond. It went
Don't
above
sell
and
yourself.
beyond.
Also, Java, check the GC. Anyway, continue, Enzo.
It went above and beyond my expectations. Definitely. And like, getting into it, like the premise is that Puss in Boots has been reckless with his 9 lives at this point. Like he's just throwing them away like anything. Like not being careful, like, is this made out of shellfish? Or eating shit from like a microwave.
Huh?
Yeah. Like when him and
What?
There's another.
sorry. Oven.
Sorry, I feel like we're off to a terrible start after.
I didn't know we were transitioning to like, we're getting into the meat of it. I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa.
I know.
Because like Nina
No.
just sent me in the GC. I'm like, here's the moon thingy. I'm like, I get it.
I know, but anyway, sorry. Go ahead, and so we're not just like what? I was like, what? Microwave? I was like, dang, I don't
But-
remember anything anymore.
Aside
No, but we
from
do. Yeah. Oh, go
him
on,
being
sorry.
reckless, you're like, I can't believe it took 10 years for another Shrek-related thing to come out because the animation in this one, you're like, God damn, this is like chef's kiss all across the board.
Yeah.
Yep. With the opening
Has-
scene.
Has
Yeah,
it really
it's a
been? Sorry, I
giant-
have to ask. Has it really been 10 years since anything Shrek related has happened? Really? What was the last one?
Puss in Boots 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because Shrek
Really?
4 came out
No.
a year before, and it wasn't the best.
Wow, that was 2011.
And then the other DreamWorks stuff was like Boss Baby and How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, so yeah,
Two
you're
and three.
right. So then it
Okay.
doesn't really technically
They,
count. So
they
you're right.
filled in the gaps.
Yeah. The
Sorry,
fight
go
with the
ahead.
giant is amazing. You're like, again, like, oh my god, I wish they started this sooner. But again, I guess because of time and production, like, I'm glad you got better animation. Not that I wasn't a fan of the previous ones, but like, this is like the way to go for me.
Yeah, because I actually thought to myself when I had heard about it, I saw nothing. Like I only saw like maybe at best stills from the film, but I hadn't at all seen any like actual animation. So when I first watched it, I said, "Wow, this is really good." And not just that, they're finally like each movie is starting to like stylize itself in its own way. Like
Yeah.
I want this to be the start for DreamWorks to move away from trying to go at Pixar. You know, because like if you've noticed, right, like they kind of did the thing where, admittedly, you know, for the longest time, ever since like Shrek, they kind of went for this like much more like grittier, mature, like somewhat realistic, but not with like uncanny valley, not in a bad way, but it just is animation, right? That like it's, I wouldn't say it holds up, but it is very distinct to DreamWorks. So finally getting to see something that's like that's moved really far from that, you know, besides of course there obviously other non-Shrek stuff. I was like, real, this is great. I'm so happy to see this. Like finally we've moved away from trying to be, you know, trying to beat out Pixar instead instead making their own kind of thing, which I think is amazing. Like God bless finally.
I loved with what DreamWorks did was like instead of being in Disney and Pixar's shadow, they just kind of just stood out of it with this one. I was like,
Yeah, that's what
thank
I was
God.
saying. I didn't want to say Shadow because I wasn't sure. I hadn't seen any of the recent DreamWorks stuff, so I wasn't sure whether to say that. If only because like I'm a lot. Like what else did they take out? Like put out like within the last 2 years? That
How to
Boss
Train
Baby,
Your
right?
How to
Boss
Train
Baby,
Your
right?
Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like How to Train Your Dragon was still towards like early 2000. Like wasn't it like at least early 2010s?
Yeah.
Because I was like still a
Wait.
preteen.
I don't know. So what I was saying was like they're like the last How to Train Your Dragon movie where Hiccup like has kids.
Ah, like the third one?
Yeah.
I guess, but like to me, I don't really count sequels if in terms of ano. Oh, it was 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good though. I cried. I cried.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say nothing. I say nothing. Continue.
Yeah, but the fight is so amazing to see, especially when you see like the camera work, how the camera zooms in and out, how it's like a live action thing. You're like, this is seamless. and I like it.
No, but I do love those. And they keep doing it. And they did it for Spider-Verse, and I think they did it for what was the name of that family movie?
Oh, Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where they do that like tracking shot of them running. They love doing that shit, and they do it like they're the ones who are best at that.
I think I also like the feeling where it's like the frame rates get how the movie usually goes for these action sequences, so it really gives you a distinct feel, and I really enjoy that because that means that they're finally moving away from trying to be this incredibly smooth style that Pixar has kind of had, where it's almost like there's like 60 frames per one person, like per one movement, versus like now it's like, okay, we're finally getting into something different. And I feel like God bless, because you know, as much as I will say for as much as I love Pixar and everything that Disney, a lot of what Disney puts out, I won't say everything, especially animation wise, it's just like I'm so tired of seeing people try to like studios trying to catch up to them, like rather than trying to just create a niche, because it's like there's so much to animation that can be done that, you know, just hasn't been, because no one really wants to take that chance. But ever since Spider-Verse, it's as if like we finally.
It's not like it's dead.
It's not dead, but it's just kind of like it is gone.
Okay,
you know, it is the thing, right? Because up until Spider-Verse, I would argue, you know, like people weren't experimenting until then, and it was just like finally we're seeing it in the art form that it deserves to be. You know, because it's only ever been like Pixar and anime, right? Yeah. Like in terms of animation. So it's just like, oh my god, finally, like something more distinct than Pixar or anime, you know. And that's
which is kind of Pixar and anime blend together. Because like when they do the action shots, they are cutting frames. They are making it not as smooth. It's a little bit more sudden, which gives it more impact. That's what animes do to fight scenes, to have a little bit more punch. Instead of you seeing the fist go like this, you see it from here, immediately here.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I really appreciate that. But yeah. Enzo?
Yeah, and after the fight, Puss dies, and the doctor's like, you're out of lives, you need to retire. And then Puss is like, nah, I got this. And then later that night, we meet, honestly, the most terrifying villain I've ever seen in any movie, animated movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah. Yeah, Wagner Mora as that. I researched, I'm like, that voice sounds kind of familiar. I'm like, oh my god, it's Pablo Escobar from Narcos.
Okay, I don't want any of this for...
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Wagner Mora.
Wow, I don't recognize him without the beard. That's why. I was like, I knew it was him. I didn't recognize him because of the mustache. Because the picture that they put on for the cast,
it was like gray hair.
It's gray hair and no facial hair. And I was like, who's this guy? I don't know. I don't know this man.
Because the first thing you hear from the wolf is the whiz on the red eyes. You're like, what the fuck is that supposed to be?
Homie, I don't want to hear any of this furry shit. But his voice was hot. I was like, whoa, okay.
What's so wrong about being a furry, guys? Dang. If not hot, why draw hot? If not sexy, why draw sexy?
Look, for sure, there's a shit ton of Lobo Death-esque Rule 34
probably
fan arts of this guy.
Hey, that's not the worst thing on there. We'll have to admit.
It's very true.
But
it's very true.
Like it's funny how they carried over the terrifying design from German folklore to this one. You're like, this guy is scary, and you fear for Puss in Boots. You're like, am I gonna see Puss in Boots have a spine crack from this wolf?
Oh yeah,
you wouldn't be surprised, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like at first you just thought, like if you haven't seen the TikToks,
yeah,
and you come into this movie blind, you're like, oh, it's just a regular bounty hunter who's after him while he's on his like last life, and he is the most possible thing for his death.
Yeah.
But now we find out he is legit dead. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm not metaphorically or theoretically or whatever, I am. And I was like, ooh. That's scary.
Like how
That's scary.
yeah, his
Good.
eyes get more intense, and
But
he's like, when he's like, pick it up, you're like,
oh
God
yeah.
damn it.
Oh god, I love that shit. Again, I love the voice, the voice actor for Death here. I'm just like,
Yeah,
yes, cook more cocaine. I don't know, just like do more of that, please. But
Yeah.
but I was like, pick it up. Oh my god, and I love the design for his character. Red eyes, like you just see the black dot
yeah,
in the middle of it, and it's just beating. I'm like, I know it's an animation. I know what this is supposed to be like.
yeah.
Like cartoon-esque villain. I don't know why I'm so scared of it.
Right.
No, because okay, I'm gonna bring this up. I think this is a point that needs to be made, in that like another thing that DreamWorks has had done very successfully with this movie is beyond just the animation, but the humor, the dialogue, everything is both. It doesn't treat itself so much like a kid's movie, if not just a story being done in an animation medium, like an animated medium. Because you have to think about it, right? Like, a lot of the jokes are adult, we'll have to admit. But we also have to admit that the theming is very not. It's not so, childish, because it is talking about death, which is not something that has ever been explicitly said or kind of portrayed in animation. Like, sure, we've had like we've alluded to it in like maybe Pixar movies and every so often, but rarely is he ever just like, I'm death, I'm coming for you, right? And I really appreciated that, because it made for an enjoyable experience for both, I would argue, for both kids and us, like people our age and older, right?
Yeah.
Beyond, of course, just the really incredible humor, which I was like blown away by. It's not the kind of like kids jokes where it's like the adult jokes that happen in kids movies, where it's like blah blah blah, and adult joke looks at adults, wink, get it? It's an adult joke, like, no, it's like so seamless, and I'm like, oh my god.
Very seamless, also right in your face. Like,
Yeah.
we get that scene with the dog, and it's just cursing.
Yeah, Pirito. Yeah, I know, that's exactly the one I was thinking, where I was like,
whoa.
Some people call me shit for brain trick. What the fuck?
Right? I was like,
it's my brains,
by the
and I
way,
was like,
speaking about death, this movie does not shy away from it.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I said.
No, I know. But I mean, like, showing. Like, there's this one chef guy, I know. One chef guy just gets eaten and just turned into a skeleton.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
was saying that too. I was like, is this allowed? Like, when it happened, I said, is this allowed? Like, if I was in an audience with kids, would they cry? They probably would.
really traumatic. Like, they would never watch Little Shop of Horrors ever again. Like,
True. No, but you know what? I think this is good for preteens. I argue that this is not a movie for like 9-year-olds
or 6-year-olds.
below. Yeah, 9 to below.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a great transitional film for those between 10 to 15, because it's hard to find media that isn't for 16-year-olds above or 10-year-old below. Like that kind of age range. If you think about it, right? Like, when we were that age, it's hard to like look for media that like wasn't just completely like in the other direction of like, by 11 to 30, like 11 years old, we're probably already exposed to like Family Guy, Simpsons, American Guy, what else? Like Cleveland Show, like
American
all
Dad.
that, like South Park, all of the
Yeah. South Park.
It's American Dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
did I not say? What did I say?
You said American Guy.
American Guy. I was like,
You mixed Family Guy and American Dad together. I was like, if I keep nodding, if you notice.
Oh my god, I thought I had that in my head. Anyway, I was like going off the list. Anyway, but like, you get what I mean, right? Like the American Guy, he's a dude. Oh my god, that's the animation. American Guy, he's a dude.
It's just the guy from
that's
King
it.
on the Hill.
That's it. He's just a dude. But like, by that age, we were fucking too young to be watching that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just glad that this feels like, okay, it's still a kid's movie, yes, but it doesn't treat like that age range to be stupid, or like they don't baby them. And I just really appreciate that, because I really feel like I don't want, like, if I were to have a kid at that age range, I would be terrified to think about the things that they could watch, because it's like, if I left them alone, you know, they could be like us, like going on, like looking for, you know, American Guy shit, right? but you know, and what else? The South Forest, North Forest.
But yeah,
yeah.
and
Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Funny things.
and the retirement home where Puss in Boots dies, and now he's being institutionalized. Goldilocks picks up his scent.
Not institutionalized.
And,
oh
like,
my god.
I love that Goldilocks is voiced by Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
The mom
and
is
the mom is Olivia Colman.
Yep.
The
I
dad.
said, I saw the cast. I saw the cast and I went, you got Academy Award nominee Olivia Colman. Or no, Academy Award winner Olivia Colman. And Academy Award, did she win anything? Oh, let's say nominee for now. Nominee Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Of renowned fame to play your Goldilocks and Mother Bear. And I cried because I was like, I love their voices.
Yeah, and they also got
Yeah.
the bad guy from Black Widow to be Papa Bear. Ray Winston.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the My Family Moons.
Yeah. And then they
Sorry.
go off to get to Jack Horner, who's voiced by John Mulaney, for the map to the wishing star.
I was like, this man is, this dude is familiar. And then I checked and I said, now all I see is John Mulaney and I am annoyed.
Same here.
And you know
I
what?
was like, yeah.
I'm annoyed. Huh, sorry?
Go on.
No, I was just like, I'm fucking annoyed. Tama naman. It's correct that they got John Mulaney.
Yeah.
Because I'm fucking annoyed. I hate this one. I was kidding. I'm kidding.
I love the Pinocchio cameo. I was like, oh my god, it's Pinocchio. We're getting closer to Shrek.
Yeah. I was like, hey, that's him.
Yeah, but
Wow.
during the first heist when they're tossing around the map, I was like, you wanna go get it. Come on, Jack Horner. And that's what
But
you
you were gonna say something?
Also, kind of fucked up, too. Right, they got the map.
Yeah.
Like, there's two bounty hunters who's going off about how you don't know how many people we have murdered just to get this map. As they're going through, and they're like, "Where's our payment? You told us you'll be paid
In gold.
in gold."
Yeah.
And he takes out the what do you
Midas.
call it?
Midas hand.
touch.
The Midas hand,
Yeah.
and then the girl touches it. I'm like, messed up. And then you just see the other girl carting her away. I'm like, yo, that's messed up.
That's what I thought too. I was like, dang, like, this is not for young kids, that's for sure. And I felt terrible. Actually, no, I don't feel terrible. I think the parents should still do somewhat of due diligence of checking what their kids are watching in theaters. But I was like, any kid that was watching that with their parents thinking it was going to be a sweet little animated family movie, I feel sorry for them. Imagine a 6-year-old going in and you hear a dog cursing and you're like, Mom, Dad, why is the dog not talking?
What does
What's the beeping sound meaning?
What does the beeping sound mean?
What does shit
What do they mean? He doesn't say that the vibe, grabe.
Can we put our dog in a sock with rocks in it?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah!
Like,
oh
he's
my
telling
god,
the
when he
backstory.
described himself, I went, ooh.
Like, he's so nonchalant, but they're Kitty and Puss are just like, oh my god.
And speaking
My
of,
reaction.
Saba Hayek playing Kitty, so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Love the ano. It's so funny to think like I love the chemistry between Puss in Boots and Kitty Soft Paws.
Yeah.
So cute. You know, I was so in love with their dynamic the whole time because it felt genuine. I hate to say this, if only not, and it's not like a diss on Puss, like the movie and the medium, but the fact that I felt more chemistry between these two animated kittens talking compared to a lot of the things that I've been seeing in mainstream movies today, live action or otherwise, I'm like, they know how to do their romance as well because it was cute and it was the whole story between him having left her at the altar and her being like, it's okay, I wasn't there either. And it's like, the characterization felt surprisingly deeper than I would imagine Puss in Boots. Like, I wouldn't say it was incredibly deep and it's extensive, but for sure more so than like your usual day-to-day kids movies, movies.
Yeah.
The scene when Jack is stuck at like the rose part of the map, and like he pulls out like the grasshopper from like a CD-ROM project, and like, I'm your conscience.
Yeah. I was like, what is that? And it's like, oh, I'm sitting on your shoulder and I'm your conscience. I was like, oh, and because I was watching it with someone else, and I said, hey, that's Pinocchio's thing. And I was like thinking in my head, I was thinking like, did he have that in the movie of Shrek? Like when Pinocchio showed up? Parang hindi, no? Like, no. So I was like, oh, cute, but also, huh?
I don't know who voiced Jiminy, but I love the whole time where he's just trying to reason with him. He's like, "There's always good in somebody. There's always good in somebody." Like, there's always good in somebody.
Yeah.
No, you're a terrible person. Yeah. Then he finally snaps. I was like, okay.
You're a terrible person and you deserve no redemption. Like, that was so cute.
And I love it. He was like, finally you noticed, and just flicks him away.
Like,
it's such good humor.
I like in like the second battle where they're fighting over the map, like Puss thinks he has his shit down, but like he hears death, just whistle, and he's like, nope, I'm out, bye.
I love his introduction. I don't know why the studio is really good at making villains really, really terrifying. Like with the Prowler, with this like screeching entrance sound, and now here with Death with the hair sound sticking at the back of your neck, kind of deal. I was like, I love that shit.
Speaking of, the one that gave me goosebumps was when he had the coins in his eyes.
Just the.
Oh yeah, where he's just
when he had the coins in his eyes, and oh god, I completely forgot it. But there's like a TikTok talking about how his weapons aren't just like supposed to be indicative of like harvesting souls, like the Grim Reaper and stuff, like a sickle, but it was also something along the lines of like a really fucked up weapon that would like bring someone close. Like it was a weapon that could bring someone close like by the neck, and you could slice them from the back and stuff like a really brutal way of killing somebody or something like that. I'm gonna look for it and I'm gonna send it to Enzo just so he can like insert it, because I also love this creator. But like there were so many things about the way they both like his character's design and the way that they would put him in the story that was so terrifying. And also just like, I was like, dang, that's sick. That's how you do villains in these kinds of movies.
I also saw a TikTok where
we love TikTok here.
Yeah. Like, hey, our low attention spans are being stimulated, you know?
Yeah.
But there's a TikTok where people would like pause it in the middle of like a crowd in the scene, and you just see Death at the back. I was like, what?
Yeah. Where you saw Death in the back, like he's always been there, and it's just like it's these like so many small details. I wanted to like also talk about these amazing small details, like whenever the cats would sometimes like the cats in the movies, whenever they would just be like kind of mindlessly thinking, or they'd be like they'd have their blep out like. And it was so cute. Like they didn't even have to animate it, but they did, and it was just there, and it was cute, and it was natural. You know, Perito, is it Perito or Pepito or Perito? Like Perito, he was like so cute because they always have his tongue out, and he'd always just kind of like. They were never just static. There was always like something to look at. No matter where your eyes landed, there was always something to look at, which I appreciated.
When Puss gets the panic attack and Pedrito has to calm down, I was like, that's very real.
Yeah, that's so real. He's like, I'm a therapy dog. Touch my stomach.
But I do love that scene where it kind of like hit me a little too close to home. I was like, oh. Yeah. Where he would like lay his head on his chest and just try to calm his heartbeat down. I was like,
yeah, I know. I love that so much. I was like, oh, like a really like nice way to show how therapy dogs work.
Yeah. And then he's like, please don't tell Soft Boss that I need more lives. I'm already guilty or conscience red enough. Like, I already left her at the altar. I have that shit to deal with. And like Kitty's wish is that I wish I could trust someone for once in my life. Like, you know what? That's a real wish too. That's a very real, understandable wish.
It's a very real wish, exactly.
That is true. Yeah. No, and Perito, yeah, well, he doesn't really have any wishes.
Just happy to be there.
He's like, I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here. I love that for him. Oh my god, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the scene when Puss is stuck in like the Cave of Souls, and then Kitty has to rescue Perito from Goldilocks, and they have Perito and the rest of the Goldilocks gang have like this battle of cursing, and you're like, what the fuck is Perito saying to them?
I know, it's like to a certain extent, it's always those people that don't really have anything going on in their, like not going on in their head, but like who don't really have a lot like negative thoughts. Somehow they always have the most like fucked up. But then again, it's like it's both like his ignorance towards his own pain on top of the fact that like it's what he's been used to. So like the brain doesn't really understand what is and isn't fucked up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, and also I'm so sad for it because wow, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Trauma things.
And in the cave, Puss has to deal with his alpha Kitty selves. It's like, oh, this is what I used to be.
Yeah. The like what he used to be and shit, and of course he kind of reminisces with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's enjoying seeing his other lives, and oh god, I love this thing where he finally says like, I have to go. I can't stay here. And of course they're telling him, take that wish, get those 9 lives back, get your old life back. Cause
Like,
you're always gonna be scared and living of, then as they say, fear. It's death who comes out. I was like, whoa.
That scared me. Like, I just push my chair back. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, same here. I was watching on my phone. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, that's so good. His voice again, sexy.
And he
Shit.
says, like, I've always been there for your 9 lives. How you recklessly threw your lives away. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And then you just rewind. You're like, he has.
oh, he has been, yeah.
Yeah.
I like this idea as well of like how often do like in kids in marketed kids movies do we get like do we rarely ever like explicitly talk about something like so like something like death, how often do we talk about grief, how often do we talk about wanting to live our lives? And I like that idea that we finally have moved away from creating really intense metaphors for death or grief or depression and all those things, and just being like, you know what, say it as it should be, because that's correct. That's how someone needs to learn. Because when you as a kid, yes, maybe you have to do it in a way that they understand, but you can't shy away from these kinds of topics with them, because when they grow up, they'll find it more confusing rather than just being told up front. Even if it may upset them, they will learn, because that's what you should be doing as a parent, right? Is like teaching your kids in a way that is safe and rather than skirting around difficult topics and hoping they never find out about it until the internet comes along. Ooh, I'm sure all of us here can relate to that. But I like that it's being done and packaged in a way that is also enjoyable for the kids, because I don't know so much if I enjoyed the pacing as much, if only because like at times it felt correct, but also sometimes some scenes I was like, is this really needed? What was this supposed to be? I loved, of course, I'm biased. I love Florence Pugh. I love Olivia Colman. The Goldilocks one, I did not expect it so much, if only because I was just kind of like, I don't know how to feel about this. It feels a little, I won't say forced, but it just feels a little bit like, I don't know how this ties into the Puss in Boots, the wish thing. But then again, I think the idea was that, everyone has a different wish and some things are already there. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. But pacing-wise, it was still a little off for me every so often. If only because it felt like, oh, look at us running and trying to get the wish.
Yeah.
But house? And they're like, what house? But
No,
I mean, it was still written well. I wouldn't say it wasn't.
Oh yeah, it was written well, but I will say that it didn't let us marinate in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, what was so off about it? And you're right. It was like, it felt like plot point, that plot point.
Yeah, lesson learned, conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though that scene when they're like, why do you want this wish so bad? It's like, because I want a real family. And they're like, oh, so that's how it is.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, when she said that, I was like,
Yeah.
how could you say that?
Yeah, same here. But I was like, that's such good storytelling. If it was like a solo-esque, I feel like it was wasted material.
Yeah, it could have been its own thing. Like rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
putting it here, it could have been its own thing.
Yeah, and we could
I
have
agree.
had like DreamWorks' version of a mother-daughter storyline, like what Pixar is doing. But of course, we're not trying to do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is kind of sweet though, because even though she wants another family, Mother Bear still is like, let's get then. If that makes you happy, let's get it for you.
Look at that.
As
So I was like,
a good mother is, I'm like,
I was like,
wow.
ah! I was crying. I was like, ah! And
Yeah.
then of course it's Olivia Colman's like sweet voice, and I was like, ah!
And
But
then
go ahead, Enzo.
we get to the ending, which is kind of like the ending of Spider-Verse, where they're all in this big battle. Goldilocks, Jack Horner, and Puss in Boots and stuff. Pause. And like, I love the moment where Baby Bear's going to be like Thanos evaporated, and Goldilocks has a moment of like, I can either make the wish, or I could save my family.
Yeah.
And then she
And-
saves
and
Baby
she
Bear,
does.
like, oh, thank God.
No, cause I love how the director does this. Is that they show what is the repercussions if she doesn't save him, which was with one of the 12 baker.
Yeah.
The baker doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where this lady's just like, help me, and then Jack Horner's like, nah, and she gets vaporized. I was like, again,
fully
very
like, oh my
scene.
god.
I was like, I'm a 24-year-old, and I was like, I'm unsettled.
Help.
Yeah, I know. I kept thinking that too, and I like that as well. In speaking of like in line of characters, I like how at first we are introduced. Like you kind of have two villains in Jack Horner. Like there's one who is like really deep and complicated, and then Jack Horner, who's just there to be like a fully evil person.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because it kind of shows you the different aspects of wishing for something, where it's like you have the kind of people who are intensely, self-centered and selfish in Jack Horner, as a villain, and then you have something like Death that's just an entity that looms over everybody, and then there's like Puss in Boots who's like, I wasted my life, I want it back, but then it's like, no, make good of what you already have.
Mm.
And then Kitty is like, it's okay, I found myself trusting in you. Yeah, and Benito's like, I'm happy to be here. It's like, oh, but yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, cute. So don't be careful. It's truly like a be careful what you wish for, because you might already have it. You know?
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah, but sorry, go on.
I was gonna say when they think the coast is clear, Death comes through, and we had the last battle. You're like, this is sick.
Yeah, that was so good. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I'm really happy that they did it ended in such a cliche way.
Yeah,
I'm like, and then we got a really good fight scene.
yeah, I
Like
love-
legitimately good sword fighting. I'm like, this is so good.
yeah. It's just like I'm enjoyed the chase, Gato, but this is our end, your end. And he's like, as our lives flashing before your eyes. It's like, no, I'm not gonna run away anymore. I'm gonna fight. And he's like, this is gonna be fun.
Woo, woo, woo. I love that.
Oh god, I can't get over his voice.
Yeah,
I love, well, Puss calls him Lobo, but I love Death so
Yeah.
fucking much.
Puss kicks him, and he's like, bien, muy bien, and he starts does the Darth Maul shit. You're like, oh shit, now it's really going
Darth
on.
Maul. Wow! I know. It's just funny to think. I was like, I also thought that. I was like, okay, Darth Maul, let's go.
Also, like
I
how
see his face.
Puss controls the blade when he's disarmed, but he pulls out the knife, and he's able to control the flow of the.
What was the name of that knife again? It was like, it's like, say hello to. Was it again? This is my
You're
little
about to spit
knife.
it, right?
Yeah, it was in Spanish. He said it in something different. What is it?
I can't
It's my
pronounce it.
little.
Yeah.
I don't
But he
remember.
does say that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny that, of course, the guy that says that is, you know.
For me, I find that a little bit off-putting though, because him going like, "Oh, meet my little friend," I kind of didn't like that much. Kind of threw me off with this whole scene that was going on between him fighting death. But yeah, it's
No,
fine.
it isn't like the whole thing because it's supposed to be like, oh, Kitty was the thing that saved him. You know, the thing that he was so ashamed of is the thing that saved him. You know, or something like that. Size doesn't matter.
God damn it.
Size doesn't matter.
What do you mean? It's a reasonable size knife.
That, yeah. You know.
Anyway, he
Anyway,
disarms.
Adequate.
it's how you use it.
Yes. He disarms Dad and he's like, I'll never stop fighting for this life. And Dad's like, you're ruining this. I came here for an arrogant legend who thought he was immortal, but you're not him. And he just turns around. He's like, you know we'll see each other again. He's like, hasta la muerte. You're like, oh, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that so much for him. I was just like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, you know he'll be back because death always comes back. And there will come a day where he's, oh, I think I saw a comic that was so good regarding this, where it was like Puss on his, deathbed and Death's like, you ready? And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I remember he was like, I was crying, I was bawling already.
But we
But yeah, that was just so good. It was like, they didn't shy away from that, and I love that for this movie so much.
Yeah. And I do love it that they didn't show as if like, oh, Puss can deal with death, like go to
Yeah, like overcome
No.
death. Yeah.
No, you can't. Death won't stop. And I was like, he knows that he's gonna lose.
Yeah.
So I was like, but he, of course, he just still chose not to run away.
Yeah.
So I do love how they like finish their arc as
but
of now.
Yeah, but the fight's not over because Jack Horner comes back and like Perito does like his cute face or tries to do his cute face and he's like, you really think that's gonna stop me? He's like, nah, I was just telling you, bro. And then
That's funny and shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, fully has his own hernia. I was like, stop.
I love how
Every time he does it, I'm like, I feel my eye twitching. But
Same
go ahead,
here.
I'm so sorry.
love how Jiminy Cricket gets a laugh on Jack Horner.
Yeah, he does. I was like, ooh.
This is my
Yeah.
resignation. And just has the Phoenix burn it.
Yeah, burns the map, which
Yeah.
completely destroys the wish, and it collapses. The star collapses on itself,
Yeah.
killing. And the whole time, Jack Horner has been this character of like, oh, I came from nothing. I just had a very rich family and a very wealthy.
I love that. I was like, oh, it's a nepotism baby story. I love
Yeah.
that.
And you gotta love that you do know that you met people like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, I was started by my business was started by myself with a load of $1 million, like
From my dad.
from my dad, where he didn't expect me to pay it.
And Jiminy
I know
Cricket just like
we're sounding very petty now.
love how Jiminy
Because we
Cricket's
should
just like,
be
oh my God.
well-deserved pettiness.
But after that, like everybody separates amicably. They're like, "Hey, Jack Horner's gone. We can take over his business." And they're like, "Puss, Kitty," and they're like, "All right, we respect each other. Now we're parting ways."
I love how Jack dies though. He's like, why did I deserve this?
Specifically,
Literally.
Specifically. I was like,
Yeah, I hate that people that are like that, where it's like, what did I do? Cite me a very specific moment that I remember. If I don't, it's not valid.
so I was like, this is very satisfying.
yeah.
All right,
True,
I'm
true.
happy.
And then Puss and Kitty and Perito, what's the team called? The friendship group.
Yeah,
The friendship gang or something.
Yeah.
Team
yeah.
friendship.
Team friendship, yeah.
And then Puss is like off to new adventures to see old friends, and then you see far, far away. You're like, Shrek.
Hmm? Yeah, so like the Shrek EU,
Yeah.
CU, sorry.
Yeah, and Antonio Banderas says if this movie makes enough money, they'll have a Shrek 5. So please.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Shrek 5? What was the fourth one? God.
It was the one where he
Turned into a person?
No, that's
No, that's the third one. Fuck! Ah!
fourth one is like he wishes he never
It was
met
a-
Fiona. And
Yeah, yeah. He was like Rumpelstiltskin.
yeah, it's like a
there.
timeline
Yes, I
shit.
remember that, but also I don't. I remember that, but I don't.
Yeah, it's one of the
Same here.
best, honestly. But I would do
It's the way that like my life was like. There's a Shrek 4. Could have sworn we only went as far as the third. Oh, I remember this motherfucker. I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember this motherfucker. The fucking Rumpelstiltskin with the hair, and I was like, what the fuck are you?
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, but if you get Shrek 5 on the Shrek and Donkey and the self animation, like I'm G for that.
Why not Coconut? I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we did kind of see Shrek in the flashback.
What was the third one about? Oh, the
Which
family.
flashback?
Yeah. When his life was flashing before his eyes, you
Right,
see
right,
him
right.
walking with Shrek and the donkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, yay!
I think there's hope for Shrek 5 because this did dethrone Avatar for a bit.
It did. I
Like-
think it was only the UK box office though, not world, not global.
Well, I love
I
how
know.
But I remember
So-
that because I was like, that's the best and the most. Imagine like 2 movies, 10 years in the making. Blue People, made by Titanic
Cameron.
director
Yeah.
James Cameron, and Cap.
Puss in Boots, Kitty.
A talking cat.
And then UK was
You
like,
know-
yeah, talking cat.
Dude,
Yeah.
all I hear about Avatar is that Avatar 2 is that it's the most movie ever.
It is.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Like it's a movie.
Yeah.
Done. It's there.
Like,
And I was
we
like-
enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. Like,
Like-
nothing deep about it. Really.
Yeah, right? That's what I
Yeah.
keep hearing. It's like, movie. And I was like, movie. And then there's Kat with like talking about death explicitly and making a wish about not losing out on your lives.
You get more about Puss in Boots than you do with Avatar. Because Avatar is like, oh, save the environment. Well, this one, how do I deal with death? I'm like, okay, somebody's getting philosophical with us.
Hey, saving the environment is important, just not.
Yeah, I know, but it's a very like
In your
black
face.
and white kind of concept. Like,
Yeah, it's like, don't do this.
Yeah.
yeah, right?
But does it in making the movie.
Yeah, well, Puss in Boots is like, how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what would you rate this movie?
Oh God. I guess I'll go first. I enjoy the animation. I enjoy the voice actors, especially Death. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm calling him Lobo. That shit's sick. I loved almost everything about this movie. Yes, Nina's right. Like with the Goldilocks thing, where it's a little too rushed. I wish they made us marinate in it, or like kept it a separate thing, like a separate movie.
Mhm.
I don't know. Also, another weird thing. Antonio Banderas has this Jin Sakai syndrome, where he has to say "I'm Puss in Boots" just to get him into the character, like how the voice actor of Jin Sakai has to say "I am Jin Sakai" just to get into character.
I thought you were going to say Puss in Boots just goes, send your strongest warrior. Gets a
But yeah,
9-inch
like-
slash and just goes, you're like, alright.
One just goes down, bleeding to death.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean, right? Like, you see him do it a lot in this movie, which kind of... I was like, I think you're doing it for you more than for the script.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
you really need to say it to get into character. And I was like, it kind of threw me off on how much he did it. Or how much
Yeah, it's
he
kind
put
of
in.
like the joke was running itself into the ground a little bit
Yeah.
too much.
And that is like one of my nitpicks of it. But other than that, shit, the story was there. It made, like, if you're a kid, you would enjoy this movie.
Yeah,
But if you're an adult, you will enjoy this movie and it makes you think.
yeah.
I'm not saying kids don't think, but I mean, like, they're not worrying about that kind of concept yet. But if they come back to this movie, they will start to appreciate it a little bit more once they're older.
Mom, kitty
I
said
love
bullshit.
I was like, bet, like, if there's like future TikTok, and some kids are like, "Did you know in the movie Puss in Boots, a dog said like God knows how many bad words, and it all flew over our heads as a child."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Oh, but I would give this movie a solid 9 out of 10. Besides the nitpicks, I would have given it 10 if it weren't for the Goldilocks thing and, yeah, as Nina said, them running the joke to the ground with the whole "I'm Boots and Boots." Other than that, the message was there. The characters were amazing. Voice acting was amazing. The animation was amazing. And I highly suggest watching this if you have the chance.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll give this a 9 out of 10 as well. I really do like the characters and the overall arc for Puss in Boots. And the animation is just amazing to watch. I do agree with the Goldilocks too, but like Devil's Advocate is like, would people really see a standalone Goldilocks movie set in the Shrek universe? Because they'd be like, fucking what?
Good point.
Oh,
Good
it's
point.
Florence Pugh. Still fucking what? But yeah, great animation, great acting all around, and a great story that really dives in deep. Which really, I think that's always been DreamWorks' thing of like separating them from Disney, the Disney stuff.
I think I was gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10, if only because I think that this is another movie that deserves the hype around it. If only because like it was so good at everything it needed to do. And even with the nitpicks, I still think that what it achieved was so much more like it has done so much more than I ever thought it could, like at least before the TikTok stuff. And I want to see more movies like that where it's like they tackle difficult topics, or they go beyond just like we're here to teach a lesson to kids, you know?
Yeah.
Like it knows what it is and it sticks to that. It understands its comedy, its audience, and I'm really appreciative of that. So with that being the case, yeah, 9.5 at the end of it. So
All
I think
right.
with that, Enzo, I think you should take it away and tell them where they can find us.
Yeah, that's been our video on Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. If you want to see more of us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. You can also find us on Spotify and TikTok. TikTok to see our best and funniest moments, Spotify to hear us on the go. In the video, you can find me at Gandalf995 on Twitter.
Oh, you can find me at JomGigo, _on Instagram. It is my account. How about you?
You can find me at 9_now on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And until the next DreamWorks animation movie we will be doing, we'll see you until then. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye.